What's up, guys? Chris here with Gaming Kinda, and it is time to start posting over here regularly again. I took a break for Thanksgiving. That week I made 1.5 million gil and 300,000 gold, I think. And then the next week I made like half that on both, so I made like 150,000 gold. And then I was down to 750,000 gil. This last week I made right around that 700,000 gil, and I'm actually up to just under 300,000 gold. Made like 280, I think, give or take. So it was getting close. But I did a lot more flips this week, and so there was a lot of money spent in making that. So my total revenue, I think was probably more around that 152 range. I'd have to go look. But I think it brings my total net worth in both games to 7.5-ish million, and then 850,000. So I'm coming up on that second comma, that big boy money in World of Warcraft. So I'm excited about that. Final Fantasy, it'd be nice to get back to that 10 million range, get that extra digit on there. And then we got to start stacking that thing up, because I think the most I've ever had at one time's 30 million. So I've got a ways to go before we're kind of in that ballpark. And then in WoW, I think the most I've ever had is like 1.5, maybe pushing 2 million. I don't think I've ever had 2 million at one time. So we're very, very quickly approaching the wealthiest I've been in World of Warcraft, especially if I can keep these numbers up. So for those of you that have been hanging out on stream, I've been streaming a lot more. On the side, I've been building some Warhammer models. I've been playing Elite Dangerous. I've been playing Call of Duty, a little bit of Destiny, but mostly I have been enjoying my time on stream. Been going live at 8 a.m. on weekdays, typically cutting off around 2 p.m., but I kind of set a set of goals. So if I finish it really early, sometimes I've ended really early. If I'm not done, sometimes I've let it go really long. But kind of that's that ballpark, that's that sweet spot. I know that that'll continue through at least the end of December. At that time, we'll kind of reevaluate what that looks like moving forward. But Brian has started joining me in the mornings, pending dad duty. He's, so at any time he could be called up to go take care of little ones. But during that time, Brian's been starting really early, and I have started Dark Knight and Death Knight. What's exciting about these, more so than just that I'm having a lot of fun with both class and job, is that they're the last ones. They're the very end of leveling my tanks. With all of 5.4 cleared, and with really starting to feel like the initial serving of World of Warcraft content, expansion content for us filthy casuals cleared, I'm kind of settling into a groove where I kind of know which dailies are most important to me in both games. I can't get to all of them because both games have a ridiculous amount of things they'd be willing to take from you daily. Some days I get to all of it, but most days I don't. And I am leveling up the last of my tanks. In World of Warcraft, I have my Druid at cap, and then in Shadowlands tank-wise, I just have my Demon Hunter. My Priest is there as well for tailoring, but all I did was get it to Arbos and cap out tailoring. So tailoring's at max, but that's all I've done. My Warrior and Monk are both sitting at level 50, so they're sitting in the wings. And then my Paladin's at 35, and my brand new Death Knight is already up to 24. So it's already tied my Bank Death Knight, which is at 24, from being 58 or whatever level it was when we created them back in the day. I created one just to have one, and then it had stayed my bank for so long, and I didn't want to give it up as my bank. So I left it and started leveling fresh. And every run seems like I'm leveling it through dungeons, and every dungeon seems like it gets me about one level, gets me just under a level in experience for completion, and then I get maybe a third of a level from the experience. And so combined, I'm getting over a level per run, and it's just a question of how fast are the runs. I'm doing Legion dungeons. If these get old at some point, maybe somewhere in the 30s, I will have done enough of these that I'm bored of them. I may go back to Chromie and say, can I switch? But right now I'm queued into Legion-specific dungeons, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. Over on the Final Fantasy side of things, my Paladin is like 74 now, so it's just slowly kind of turning around. It's been pushing through content that the Dark Knight was not eligible for, and then I've been doing my dailies over there, just waiting for Bozja to be something that people are interested in again. I think as World of Warcraft focuses a lot on the World First race, getting into the new raids, getting up your Mythic, There's not as many people doing casual content, but it doesn't really suffer because the Maw is a very solo experience. Torghast can be a very solo experience, and it's definitely small party. Boss just it's there. Those are the parallel forms of content. It's big group content. So because it's these big world boss type encounters, they're it's not really that fun if there aren't a lot of people in the zone. It's doable. We downed a boss with 9 when I was in there on my paladin, but it's not nearly as much fun as when there's the train. So I'm hoping closer to 545 it'll pick back up so that I can get everything I want from this section and be done in it, and then I can go grind into the next section. That would be a lot of fun, and in the process I can level up my 2 jobs that are north of 71 already, my Black Mage and my Paladin. But in the meantime, I'm just working Dark Knight. The story's interesting enough. It's definitely taken a turn at the level 50 quest that made me actually like it a lot more. But I'm mostly just enjoying the job. I'm enjoying so much about playing all this. It's fun to hang out with you guys. You guys are, of course, experts in both games beyond. There's usually at least somebody in chat that always knows more than me, no matter what one piece of content we're exploring. So anywhere that I feel like I have a question, hanging out with you guys has made it really enjoyable to kind of continue to open me up to like, okay, I could be doing this better, or I don't understand how this works. I'm having a lot of fun. Being post 50 will be great in 14 because it opens up all my roulettes. It opens up all of this content, everything that was from the original end game on. So being able to do my 50, 60, 70, being able to do a trial roulette, being able to do alliance raids. It's just really nice to be able to do that and kind of level it up that way. Both games I'm trying to actively clear my inventory and get all that clean. This week, with it being Christmas, my wife is off work, I think starting Friday through the end of the year. So I don't know how much content creation I'll be able to do, but at least through Friday, I plan on doing a totally normal week. And I plan on just focusing on all of this stuff. I'd like to start putting videos here again. I had several filmed. I need to go back and watch them and see if they're still relevant. I shifted into streaming a lot, and it just kind of bogged me down. So when I was done each day, I worked a little bit on them, but I mostly took care of stuff away from all of this, and I was kind of done with content creation for the day. So I'm hoping that I've got stream to the point where now hoping to start creating more highlights for Game Club, hoping to record videos here on gaming kind of more often. And then I'm starting to get that itch for some big projects on some of these other little side channels that I've created. Maybe get them moving, get them actually working towards something. So I'm kind of excited about what that could mean. I'm not exactly sure what that will look like, but I plan on continuing to post pretty casual, just kind of chatting at you things over here, and just have a lot of fun with kind of whatever that this is, just kind of hanging out here and talking about games. I do want to play Cyberpunk, based around the initial review saying that it was still really buggy. It had been like an 18-month experience. So for those of you hanging out on my stream, as we went into the launch, I said, you know what, I think I'm just going to wait for the first couple patches. So far, it seems like I originally thought I'll just wait 2 or 4 weeks and they'll get things fixed. Now, launch has continued to expose more and more bugs and turn that into a whole dramatic situation of its own. So I don't think it's 2 or 4 weeks like I did, right, a day or two before launch. I think it's more likely several months until I go into Cyberpunk. So sometime next year, maybe I end up buying some Game of the Year edition in 2021 because it won't be eligible for the Game of the Year awards this year. So it'll be competing next year. And I think that maybe that's when I enjoy that. I don't know. It's probably a long way off. I hope I don't miss it. I hope it's not one of those games that I say I always wanted to play and it just kind of falls by the wayside and I never go back and experience it. But yeah, that pretty much catches you guys up really fast. As for kind of this video and like what I want this to be, I want to kind of catch up with what my goals were last week, what my goals are this week. My goal for this week in 14 is to get my Dark Knight all the way to 60. But now today I went from like 47 or 48, I think, up to 52 might be right. So I'm 53 maybe. I'm well on my way. I don't think I'm gonna have any trouble hitting it. On the other hand, in WoW, I was level 22. I made it to 24 today, and my goal for this week would be 35. So it's the loftier of the goals. I want to get my Dark Knight through all of Heavensward so that next week I can start pushing to 70, and get it ideally maybe even shoot for 71 as a goal, so that it's Bozja approved. Bozja ready. Meanwhile, Dark Knight in that same time frame, I would love to get to 50 and then maybe through that opening scenario by the end of next week. And if that's possible, that would put me in Shadowlands with it. Somewhere along the way, I need to get my warrior, my monk through it, and then I need to go catch up my paladin, which will be just getting it from 35 to 50. So hopefully that's doable in a week. We'll find out with Death Knight whether or not that sort of thing's doable. And that puts all of my tanks in Shadowlands. Not all at cap, but they are at least in the current expansion in both games. And that's a place where, like, all of a sudden it's just about getting them to cap and then getting them geared. Getting them to cap will be really fast in 14 because Bozja Constant is something that I can do that benefits my main, my warrior, but then still pass the experience along to them. The dailies through beast tribes and stuff are insane experience. Roulettes are insane experience. So I shouldn't have any trouble getting them through the 70 to 80 grind. And then once they hit cap, they share gear with my warrior. So immediately all I have to do is grind out the 2 missing relics, which took me about 2 hours the first time I grounded one out. So I mean, the second one I just got through Bozja naturally. So I assume that I'm going to be very, very quickly, within like a day or two, of getting them all to cap, having them all in that identical gear state. Maybe they won't all have glowing weapons, but they'll all have weapons. Eye level wise, they'll all be in that. When I'm doing my weekly Eden clears, I could clear on any tank and that would be totally fine. Getting to that same point in WoW where they're all, let's say, LFR approved, getting them all to, I don't know, let's say like 171, get them in that heroic range, ideally like 184, get them up to that Mythic 0 range. Getting them to full Mythic 0, that's a lot. That's going to be quite a grind. So my main may kind of fall off the wayside at that point and become less of my priority. But in this next week, we're not focused on that far out. We're focused on getting Death Knight to 35 and getting Dark Knight to 50, so that I'm kind of staged for starting to move them into like relevant content, starting to move them into endgame. Ideally, somewhere along the way, I can start kind of thinking about how would I compare these. That's kind of a set of videos that I would love to make, and kind of drawing parallels. I think as I start to tank more with all of them, I'll have a feel for which ones feel most similar to me. Obviously in 14 we have more tanks than we do in WoW. We have more tanks because in 14 each job only has one role, and so they can't just keep adding tanks because they need to add DPS and they need to add healers, as opposed to in WoW with multiple specs. When you add a new class to the game, that class can bring multiple roles to it. And so, you know, playing Paladin as a tank is very different than playing Paladin as a healer. And so total number of specs, specializations, jobs, there's a lot more of them, because in 14, the only class that has 2 jobs is Summoner Scholar. And it seems like, if anything, those are going to get separated. We're not going to see more sub-job like that, which would have made it more similar to World of Warcraft. But that was a decision made long ago. We just had the one, and then it's never increased. If anything, it feels like they're more and more separate, and that they one day won't really feel tied at all, outside of a new player will mention, hey, I'm playing this and I have a choice. Oh, that's weird. I didn't remember that was a thing. So I am having a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this. I will say that getting more into these games and stuff is starting to get me a bit of a lore itch as well. So I don't really know how to scratch that beyond going and watching videos from people like FS and Nobel and stuff like that. But it's definitely getting me a bit of a lore itch. I'm enjoying it with you guys. I think stream sharing it with you guys feels much more like a story time, or like going to a movie with a friend, and less of like, if I want to have the benefit of reading this book, but I want to have the gameplay, I have to read the book, then the gameplay, and then I shoot to the gameplay, and the book is lost forever. And so I think it's nice to kind of get to make that a more wholesome experience and complete experience, and share that. Yeah, I think that's how I feel about that. I don't really know. As for gold making goals this week, I'm going to keep them the same. So in 14, I'm trying to make 500,000 minimum, that 100,000 per weekday, and 1 million being the stretch. If I'm exceeding 1 million, then I probably need to question, like, what am I doing that's causing it to go to that? And is that time better spent somewhere else? With World of Warcraft, I'm trying to make 250,000 per week, which I beat this week, and then 500,000 is my stretch. In both games, I'm not doing a lot of active crafting, active gathering, so there's not really a chance they clear their stretch unless I find myself diving down a rabbit hole. And since the goal is to complete my tanks, actually that million and that 500,000 kind of warned me that maybe I've gotten a little off track and I'm not staying focused. I have a tendency in these games to get distracted and then lose my place, and then it just never gets done. So I am trying to finish my tanks, finish my tanks, finish my tanks. That is the goal. I want to understand tanking at a better level and not just across one job, one class. I want to understand tanking as tanking. So when another tank does things differently than me, I'd at least like to have a basic fundamental knowledge of their class so I understand why the other person tanking next to me in a dungeon, when we do a tank swap, why they behave differently, why if I ever touch Savage Extreme Heroic Mythic content, a healer might be expecting something different of me. And I think that understanding the jobs at a very basic level should give me the ability to kind of be a better player, a better gamer. With that, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoy these kind of weekly updates. These will be kind of my Monday posts. I don't know that the rest of the week will really be structured at all, but I'll try to start the week with these posts in a perfect world. And then I'd like to go back to posting relatively regularly over here. So I'm excited to get to where I have enough energy at the end of streaming, and a huge bit of that is that you guys are just so great at helping keep my energy up, keeping it fun. It's fun to hang out. The support is amazing. So many people coming in and giving us Prime subs, just giving us a follow, chatting, gifting subs to other people, hanging out, making us do push-ups and squats. It all, just the whole experience is just an absolute blast. So thanks to those of you that have been over on the stream side of things. That's been a real delight that really complements this side of things in a way that I think gives me a little more insight into how content creators that do this more hours a week than I could imagine, where they might be drawing part of their energy from. It's a ton of fun, and I'm having an absolute blast doing it. So that's the weekly wrap up this week. And yeah, that kind of preps us for next week. I don't really know what else is going on in gaming. I'm sure stuff. PSO2 has news. Everybody has news. I'm sure stuff is going on. I am just trying to keep general progress. And here on this channel, I'm not trying to talk about any one thing. Not necessarily news, not necessarily guides. Just always talking about gaming, kinda. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.